Really excited to talk to you today. Uh, we'll start off with a quick round of introductions. Can you help us understand your role at Mac Weldon and a brief intro to the company as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll start with the company and then kind of work my way back. Mac Weldon's a men's e-commerce company. We started doing kind of a refresh take on men's underwear. And from there, we've continued to grow and branch out into the apparel categories. So now we're doing, we went from underwear to kind of men's basics, and now we've really started expanding into more apparel focus and lifestyle brand. We are mostly e-commerce based. Majority of our revenue comes from our e-commerce platform, but we also have started opening point of sale brick and mortar stores across the United States. Within that context, I'm Riley. I am the director of digital product there. So I manage both an internal team of the e-commerce coordinators and manage the relationship with our marketing team. And then I also manage an outsourced dev team called Anata Design. And with all of that, I work directly with marketing and our merch teams to make sure that our web platform is efficient and set up correctly to meet our company goals as we continue to expand into different apparel categories.
Got it. Yeah, thanks for that, Riley. Can you touch upon what were some of the data related problems that you were experiencing, and how was life before engaging Saras Analytics?
So obviously running this, one of our, as I mentioned, where most of our revenue comes through the web platform, we want to make sure that what we're doing is based pretty solidly in sound data. Obviously, there are a lot of, especially in the e-commerce space, there's a lot you can do based on best practices. You can do a bunch based on heuristics and reading industry reports. However, as we kind of view our business a little bit uniquely, we've got our own way of handling things. We want to make sure that whatever decisions we're making on the website have quantitative elements that we pull from the website itself. So one of the big things that was happening at this time, obviously GA was, they brought out GA4, and I know that there's going to be a mandatory switch over to GA4 in the future. We wanted to go ahead and avail ourselves of the benefits of GA4 and also the kind of getting oriented around GA4 well before that mandatory switch over. This is going to be a big part of our life going forward within the company, using GA4 and some of the more advanced and nuanced metrics that we can pull from it to evaluate our website performance, to evaluate optimization, and ultimately make decisions in our product roadmap. So that was one of the big reasons. And obviously with that, no one in our company really had experience with GA4. Most of the people I worked with were quite familiar with GA3, with the Universal Analytics property, but we had no experience with GA4. And even we found on our dev team, most people there did not also have experience with GA4. So we wanted to make sure, while switching over, that we did it in the best way possible, that we did it with a team of people who had experience with this, who knew the best practices, so that we could get started from a sound foundation.
Were there any other options that you evaluated before freezing on Saras, Riley?
So with Saras, specifically in the GA4 path, we obviously evaluated going down different pathways, bringing on some kind of behavioral analytics tool, something like heat metrics or something similar to that. We evaluated a couple of those, but ultimately we decided to start first with the foundation. So really start honing in on GA4, making sure our GA analytics are up to date. And in terms of that, we, through the dev team that we used, through the agency we used, Anata, they recommended Saras Analytics. They mentioned they'd worked with them before, and that Saras Analytics did really quality work. So As far as in the implementation of GA4, Saras Analytics was the only team we really considered there.
Got it. And what is the solution that Saras set up for you? Can you expand on that?
Yeah, so what Saras did, it's kind of a 2 or 3 step project. One, there's a major audit of our current GA property. And then 2, we set up to implement GA4 to install that property. And then 3, based off that audit and based off of conversations with Saras about what our needs were going forward, they helped us start setting up custom events and certain reports so that we could, hit the ground running, so to speak.
Got it. Can you maybe expand a bit on the audit, Riley? What went into the audit? Were there any findings that were interesting to you on your existing setup?
Yeah, I can do that a little bit. The audit was essentially just looking over our GA3 property. This property had been implemented for as long as I've been at Mack Weldon, which is a long time, and with minimal updates or moderation. It's just kind of been there and something that we've been using. However, over the past couple of years, we've been switching off of it just due to presumed data quality issues. So we've been using different tools. We've been using Snowplow and setting up some custom events there, and really treating Snowplow and our AWS data warehouse as our source of truth. However, to go back to one of your previous questions, one of our purposes for doing this is for my team and my use. I need to be able to use GA and trust that data to be accurate and clean. So the audit really went into the setup and looked at how we had it set up, what goals and conversion goals we had set up, and how we were ultimately using that data. Some of the actions that came out of that were just looking at where, maybe some of our configurations had changed since we've simultaneously gone through a major change on the front end side, switching from Ruby on Rails infrastructure to Shopify platform, and reintegrating GA there. So some of the pages it was looking at weren't the same. Some of the goals we were tracking weren't the same. Nothing was really configured specifically. So a lot of the actions came to just bring it up to date, matching it with what our current website was doing. And yeah.
Are you happy with the choice that you've made in engaging Saras and Anata? Can you touch upon that?
Absolutely. At this point, during the actual process itself, I found personally what I loved the most was I was able to take a kind of backseat to the whole process. Between the organization that Saras Analytics brought to the project, I was only required to kind of review and say, yes, this looks good. This follows what we're wanting. And then through their communication with our dev team, I was able to trust that between the two of them, they were going to figure it out. So I didn't really have to interject frequently. I was included on calls. So personally, I love that. I was able to manage it from the top down and ultimately leave a lot of the technical decisions up to the people who are best at making them. And then from a results standpoint, right now we are set up with GA4. Everything that was promised in the initial call has been delivered on, and we are currently in our own stage of familiarizing ourselves with GA4. Really getting in and starting to configure it further to our needs and try to take the second step of, okay, we've got the foundation. Now we need to internally understand how to best use this.
Did you have any concerns with engaging an outsourced team around GA4 implementation? Maybe around, would they understand your business requirements better? How would the project management look like, so on and so forth? Did you have any concerns around that? Uh, After the overall experience, what would you probably say about that?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you go into a contract and project with an outsourced team, there are those concerns. Those are always ever-present issues that can arise. However, as I mentioned, we've been working with Anata for a while, so we've been pretty experienced with managing outsourced teams. We've gotten used to trying to identify some of those problems ahead of time and figured out ways to prevent them. So I guess I would ultimately answer that question is I had moderated concerns, but ultimately, once we got into it, I think that both sides were pretty aware of what those possible roadblocks and problems could be and worked really hard to circumvent them.
Can you touch upon maybe one or two instances where you were very happy with our implementation team, Riley?
Yes. So as I mentioned, we're slowly getting into holiday. So our original timeline for implementation took us to, I think, through the end of September was the goal to be complete with the project. However, as we started getting into holiday and my team's time got very constrained, some of the final touches, it's the classic, you get 90% of the project done and there's 10% left of very delicate final touches. Some of those started getting just forgotten or just omitted from our constant planning for other things that were really driving revenue. And then in the beginning of October, the project manager for Saras reached out to me and was like, we need to set a meeting to go over all of this and really figure out a plan to get this completed and filed away, which for me was great because it was one of those things that it was going down on my list of priorities, is that we were getting flooded with a bunch of other priorities. The proactive nature of that, I think, was really good for getting us going. And so we were able to schedule a meeting between myself and the engineers and Saras and really figure out exactly what it was that was left, regroup on those final touches and figure out what completing this project meant and what it took to get to that point.
Got it. Yeah, thanks for that. And finally, would you recommend Saras to other companies, and what would be your reasons for that, Riley?
Absolutely, especially to companies similar to ours, where we're a small, lean team, but we really want to focus on having the right people, the people who have the correct knowledge, tackle the problems that require that knowledge. It's obviously one of those things where, yes, I could have probably learned how to implement GA4 myself and really gone about that. However, the quality of our final product, I'm very aware of this, would not have been anywhere near what it would have been with Saras Analytics. So like I said, any team that's similar to ours, where they're a small team of people doing multiple things, people who know a little bit about everything, but not a lot about one thing, but are also very, very focused on having quality finished product. Working with a team such as Saras Analytics to deliver on that is absolutely a must.